Now, with us from Fairfax, Virginia, is Solon Simmons. He's the Vice President for Global Strategy at George Mason University. From Des Moines, Iowa, Stefan Schmidt, also known as Dr. Politics, a political science professor at Iowa State University. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Solon, I'll begin with you. What do you make of what happened in Nevada?
Well, I think it's obviously a big sigh of relief for Hillary Clinton. I think that if it had gone the other way, you'd start to see a sense. The big story, of course, that hurts Bernie Sanders is that he's not electable, that you can't get behind this guy. Although many of the left has their heart with him, their head is with Hillary Clinton. Had he been able to pull this off, everyone's talking these days about the narrative. The narrative would have started to shift. And I think Sanders would have been able to carry this in a really strong way. You'd see a lot of people would break for him. I'm really interested to see how the numbers break out in terms of his support among minorities, because this was the first state which wasn't all white liberals who were turning out for Bernie Sanders. So Clinton, I think, is in a good position. Again, think back, though, a few months. We would have never thought, oh, Sanders is the one who would expect to win. So Hillary Clinton definitely resetting expectations, but had nice momentum moving to South Carolina, where she should do extremely well.
And he got 47-point-something% there in Nevada. Doctor, what's your prognosis on how his campaign is going?
Well, his campaign, is a miracle campaign. In the United States, we always say, campaigns always close up at the last minute. And Hillary Clinton, closed and finished, but Bernie Sanders has done much better than expected. And of course, in South Carolina, African-American voters are a huge majority, so Bernie Sanders may not do as well. But he's got a national campaign. And remember, the Democratic Party allocates its delegates to the national convention proportionately. So Bernie Sanders can do what Barack Obama did and go state by state by state looking for delegates. I don't think he'll give up. I think he's in there for the long run.
Now, the campaigns and candidates are looking for delegates and dollars, and it seems like Bernie Sanders has raised a lot of money from various people across the country. Solon, what do you make of that? Could that extend the lifetime of his campaign?
Well, absolutely. I don't think we thought we'd have a replay of 2008 here, but he has a lot of small donors. People are going to see this as a challenge. Now, Bernie needs your help. He'll be able to raise more money, a lot of very small donations, and money does carry you through. And keep in mind, this guy's been fighting since the 1960s. We saw a video come out of him being arrested in 1963 in the Civil Rights Movement. He's going to stick this through. He has nothing else better to do, right? So if you're falling in a parachute and it doesn't open, keep pulling, right? I mean, this guy is going to fight through, and he has an ideological case. And what's important to know about him is that even if he loses the primary, no one expects him ever to win, but he's got a specific message about economic inequality, and the better he does, and the longer we talk about that, the better for him. So he will be around for the long haul.
Over the course of the next week, they're preparing for South Carolina, the Democrats. Does Hillary have an advantage in that state, Doctor?
Of course, Hillary has an advantage in that state. African-American voters seem to be turning out for her in the numbers that she expected. What I'm looking for is to see the numbers when we're all done here with the Hispanic or Latino turnout for Hillary versus Bernie Sanders, because it could be that Bernie Sanders is connecting better with Latino voters, and that would help them in some states where they are a significant portion of the electorate. And so South Carolina, I'm giving it to Hillary Clinton. I'm calling it the way a lot of people on television would do it even before it takes place, a week early. She has to win there.
So the Republicans now, if you look at most Canadians, their winter hats are kind of crooked because we're scratching our heads over Donald Trump and his campaign. What is going on, Solon?
Well, I mean, he breaks every rule, every norm. And so far, he's been able to avoid the law of gravity of politics. You say stupid things, and usually you fall out of the race. And he doesn't. He even took on the Pope, which I think most people are shocked about. Now, right now, that might not matter, because in South Carolina, this is an evangelical southern state. So as I looked, Catholics make something like 13% of the primary in 2012. It's not a big portion of the turnout. But if you look nationally, this is where he starts to hurt himself in the general election. I mean, this is a swing constituency. Catholics go one way, they go the other, and they're a big proportion, a quarter of the electorate. So annoying the Pope, in this kind of way could be a problem. But again, Trump is his own kind of political phenomenon. He's breaking new ground, redefining what conservatism is from a kind of what I'd call the theology of the invisible hand, a kind of neoliberal synthesis with religious values. He's turning it in a nativist and a nationalist direction, which is kind of a swing constituency too. It's an open space built on the opening of class inequality, the inequality that we've been seeing that Sanders is running on too. So he's still there. If he doesn't win today, though, I think it's really bad for him because he'll start to look weak. And the one thing he can't look is weak. So we'll see. So if he doesn't win it, he doesn't win it with a pretty good margin. I think he's in a bit of trouble.
Doctor, you're going to get the last 30 seconds here. How is it that he can take on the Pope and not get burned?
Because there are very few Catholics in South Carolina, and therefore for that constituency, it's okay. But I agree that nationally it's probably a little risky.
Solon Simmons in Washington, and Stefan Schmidt, Dr. Politics, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks.
Great to be here.